Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? Hope you're all doing very, very well. Now, this little video is about Michael Myers. Yes, the bogeyman. Yeah, we know him, we love him. Or do we still love him? Has he become a travesty of his former self? Many would argue that yes, he has. Now, I delivered a initial reaction to Halloween Ends and, just my thoughts on it. And I've been asked ever since to, where the hell is your full spoiler review going in depth on it? And it hasn't happened. I've been busy. It's my 30th wedding anniversary, big weekend of just, explosive fun and frolics and frivolity. But I need to address certain things right now. And by the way, this is not the full spoiler review of Halloween Ends, although the spoilers will be in here somewhere. So, it's just, this is going on a different tangent. But initially, I'm going to just say right now, I've massively enjoyed and been really enthralled by all the bicker banter and the free-for-all on the forums. Oh, God. They did say that Halloween Ends was going to be a divisive one. It was split the fandom, split the camp, and my God, fundamentally in its DNA level, that was clearly what they were intending to do. They weren't lying there. I will go into all of this in depth at some point because there's a hell of a lot to talk about, but that's not that is not the thrust of this particular video. But for those of you that want to know something right now about my full, grasp on this new trilogy, I hate it with a vengeance. It's been a nasty, stupid, inept, massively misaligned, misjudged, and non-affiliated series of movies which have just pissed all over the original Michael Myers. Well, there you go. That said, there's lots to enjoy within that trilogy as well. But the original is still the best. And if you're going to ask me right now, someone just over there did say, oh, what's your timeline, Kilt-Man? Well, my timeline is this. Original Halloween, 1978. Halloween 2, 81. Halloween 4. And then, reluctantly, H2O. Damn it. Because I can't stand that movie. But it does finish off the timeline of the Laurie Strode Michael Myers saga in that particular timeline. And I'm a massive fan of Halloween 2. When you guys notice, I've banged on about this a lot. And I think it fits perfectly. Yes, we know John Carpenter didn't want to do a sequel because the first film was self-contained and was just left out there, which is wonderful. Halloween 2, got to make a sequel. Well, I don't want to do any more of these, so Christ, I've got to try and finish it off. Yes, they're brother and sister, and they're going to destroy him in a big hospital inferno. Boom! End of. No. Money talks. Suits. Wankers in suits and studios just want more and more and more. Give me more. Well, Halloween 3. So they make Halloween 3, which I absolutely adore. You guys know this. Regular viewers know all this. I'm a huge fan of the first 3 Halloween titled movies. But Halloween 3 is not a Halloween movie. Of course it isn't. I'm not going to rake over all this. Then you get Halloween 4. Good several years later. And it does bring back Michael Myers. And it works. And I love it. And then you get the whole Thorn thing. Now we're going to come into all this because the main thrust of this video is about Michael Myers himself. Is he man? This is not a man. As Loomis says, he's not a man. Or is he some, entity, a force of supernature, a force of violence, of evil? Yes, he is. So, end of video. Done it right now. End of. That's my verdict on the whole thing. The David Gordon Green movies. Bring Michael Myers back. Yes, massively. Oh, come on. I'm with you. Sadly, David Gordon Green can't direct horror movies. He's shit, he's inept, he can't build suspense, and his writers that he's on board, Danny McBride, and God, there's loads of others, and they brought in 2 more for Halloween Ends as well. So, you know, it isn't just one voice, and that's always a bad thing as well. But, you know, franchise movies are always committee-led. Loads get brought in, lots more ideas, a big think tank. A think tank can be a great thing if you're trying to avert a worldwide crisis, a pandemic, you know, an asteroid heading towards the planet. That can be great then. Get the best minds on Earth to formulate a solution. But when you're making a franchise movie, too many chefs in the kitchen. Oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. And it's just, fuck off. All of you, back off, walk away now. Let me go back to what John Carpenter wrote, initially with Deborah Hill, and let's just try and work out where we're going to go. We don't need any sequels, but we've got sequels. So we're going to have to come up with something. Right, so as far as I'm concerned, timeline-wise, I've said before what it is. It's the original, the sequel, Halloween 4, then H2O, albeit reluctantly, but it is a payoff. It is an ending to that cycle. Some other sequels were in there as well, but and they have a bearing on what I'm going to talk about. Now, then you get this, the whole new trilogy. He's a man. He's just a man. They excise everything after Halloween 1978. They take out all of that. So you got Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode, PTSD, you know, a big prepper for Doomsday. Got a bunker, got weapons, she's trained herself, she's Sarah Connor. Yeah, well, I've discussed this a hell of a lot, and it's an angle which is interesting, but absolutely complete bollocks when you forget about Halloween 2, where he kills more people and goes after her again, which would really cement why you'd be in absolute terror of this guy that survived 6 bullets and a fall off a balcony, a knitting needle in the neck, a coat hanger in the eye, his own butcher knife in his chest or stomach. The jury's out on that, but it's in his torso. You know, no man can survive that. Halloween 2, which of course new trilogy excises altogether. Again, shot multiple times and blown up. Shot through both eyes and boom, blown up, gone. Halloween 4, more happens to him. H2O, more happens to him. Head lopped off. It's a nice payoff. The body's severed, the head's gone. That's it. He's gone. No, of course not. So with the new trilogy, what did he go and do? The excise from Halloween 2 onwards is gone, with a direct sequel to Halloween 1978. So we're talking 40 years later. So Michael Myers is now 61. And in the course of that movie, he will be hit by a car, he'll be shot, he'll be stabbed, he'll have his fingers blown off from one hand, and and then set on fire and roasted. Perfect ending. Absolutely perfect ending. If that was just him, surrounded by a halo of flame, just like in The Mask, just incinerating, staring up at Laurie and her daughter and granddaughter. Perfect finale. You know as well as I do that David Gordon Green and all his crew did not expect any more movies. All that shite about them saying, oh, it's meant to be a trilogy. Don't go back and look at it. It's always a trilogy was planned. No, it wasn't planned. You made a reboot, a sequel, and you tried to do something which you thought was clever. It really wasn't that clever, because a guy at 61 can't do the things that this guy does. But no, Kilt-Man, he's Michael Myers, but you're making out that Michael Myers is a human. You've said throughout this entire fucking new trilogy that Michael Myers is a man. He's just a human. Is he bollocks human? And here's the point of this video. What is Michael Myers? Right, Michael Myers is a complete clusterfuck of a bogeyman in movies. Freddy Krueger exists in a dreamland, a dream world. Anything can happen. Can't kill him. Just can't. Jason Voorhees is, well, after the first one, and from the second one onwards, he's an unstoppable undead demon which just wants vengeance. And he is the bogeyman, quite literally. He's just a lumbering brute, killing people remorselessly and cannot be stopped. That's perfect. That's perfect. Why, oh why, with Michael Myers did you have to change everything? Right, we're going to get into the grist of this now. John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, when they wrote Michael Myers, when they created Michael Myers, they never said he was a man. They said he was a force, an entity. He was something beyond. They didn't have to describe exactly everything he did and why he did it. He kills his sister. He's incarcerated. Dr. Sam Loomis, realizes, the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes, that this guy is not a man. He's purely and simply evil. They worked that out. Right, it's brilliant. Throughout the course of the first movie, he will be shot, he will be stabbed, he will have, things which will destroy and incapacitate a human being. Shot 6 times and then off a balcony, a back-breaking fall. Boof, lands. Gone. When Loomis looks out, gone. And Loomis's face is perfect. Jamie Lee is cowering. She realizes, was it the boogeyman? As a matter of fact, it was. Now, and then the bloody patch on the ground, but he's gone. He's scarpered. And then you hear the breathing, and Carpenter cuts to all the views of the house and the area, and it's just, the evil has gone on. It's gone on. It's perfect. They haven't said he's supernatural, but they haven't given any reasons why he does what he does. He is just evil incarnate. Perfect. It's a great, perfect, encapsulated movie. It leaves you with nightmares. But because it's successful, they have to go on with it. So, Carpenter and Deborah Hill come out with Halloween 2, where they do sort of mention Samhain, the festival of the dead, October 31st, an old Celtic festival to scare off and ward off the demons and the devils throughout the winter time and ensure good harvest and crops for the spring the following year. Lock your doors, bolt your windows, and all that kind of stuff, and it works tremendously well. It's referenced in Halloween 2. It's massively talked about hugely in Halloween 3, which is not a Michael Myers movie, of course. And then you get like Halloween 5 kind of brings in the Man in Black, and then you get Halloween 6, Curse of Michael Myers, whichever version you watch. It's the Thorn cult. It's about the druidic sort of continuation of this killer. But there's a massive basis in this. Is Michael Myers a man, or is he an inhuman entity which possesses a man's body, or anyone's body? Could be anyone, especially in this day and age. He, they, she, his, it's, them, they, whatever. Non-binary and transgender. It could be fucking anything these days, couldn't it? But what is he? What is he? Now, in the new trilogy, they are at lengths to make out in the first movie he's just a man. And then in the second movie, despite he gets shot, burned, hit by a car, Loads of things happen to him. Nothing that a 61-year-old man can survive and get up and walk away from, and then go and commit more murders with. Then you get Halloween Kills, where he's on ultra fucking rage mode. He's killing everybody under the sun. You think I'd love that movie? I don't. I despise it. I think it's absolute cackfest. He gets beaten. He's been shot. He's been a pitchfork run through him. Fucking hell! Everything that can happen to a human body, he gets it in that, and still gets up and beats all of his persecutors, kills all them. He's towering strength, and then for this movie, the final movie, Halloween Ends, he's vamoosed. He's disappeared. He's living in a gutter, living in a hole in the ground like a hobbit with a mask and a big butcher knife, and but he's succumbed to his wounds. He's decrepit. He's old now. Well, older, because it's now 4 years later. And his strength is depleted. He is not as volatile, as violent. But we do learn in this movie that he has been like dragging people in there, and obviously got to keep the old skills alive, like an old man whittling. I used to make ships, Oh, now he just whittles wood and makes little carvings. He's got to drag someone in, someone who's strayed outside his hole in the ground. Drag them in and slowly butcher them, and then probably eat them. Got to live on something, haven't you? But he's a shell of his former self. And then you meet Corey Cunningham. Now, again, this is not like a big spoiler review of Halloween Ends. That will come. I'm talking about Michael Myers and his transformation. He's now a nothing. He's a nothing sort of guy. But Corey Cunningham will come into this with his own issues, and the two will meet, the two will lock eyes, and there is, without a doubt, whether it's just inadvertently inferred or it's deliberate, because at this point in time, I do not know which. There's a thought transference. They see each other's life and like the pain of Corey Cunningham, the killings of Michael Myers, and Michael Myers doesn't kill him. Lets him go. And then Corey Cunningham will, because of events in the movie, he will bring a victim to Michael Myers, who will kill this person. And then somehow or other gain strength and vigour and be able to, and sort of has a big orgasmic reawakening and become more of the guy he used to be. But Corey Cunningham has become a nasty bastard himself. But he wants the mask. He wants to use the mask. So he'll nick the mask. But the more that Michael Myers kills in Halloween Ends, the stronger he seems to get. Although it all comes to nothing at the end. Again, in the full spoiler review, we'll discuss all of that. This is about the Michael Myers sort of timeline and transformation and transcendence. A term used in Halloween Kills. The more he kills, the more he transcends. Is that what they're trying to say? That the more he kills, the stronger he gets. So he's at his towering height in Halloween Kills. The more he kills, he can be beaten with baseball bats, pitchforks, knives, shotguns, shot, stab, crushed, whatever. And then get up again and take them all up, because I've just absorbed all your strength. All of your powers are in me now, and now I can revert them onto you. If that's the case, why does he just fuck off and go and like die slowly in a sewer? Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make no sense to me. And then when he's found again, and he finds a disciple, and then victims are brought to him. More killings ensue, and he gets stronger. David Gordon Green, you said you were at pains to make out he's just a man. He's human. Even in Halloween Ends, when he's unmasked at the end by Laurie Strode, he's just a man. You're just a man. That's all you are. Or whatever she says. Ruining the entire mythos and mystique of Michael Myers if he's just a man, why the fuck were you that bothered about him in the first place? Anyway, that's, that's something we should come on to separately. But David Gordon Green, you and Danny McBride were massively, totally enforcing the fact that he's a man. He's a 61-year-old man, and yet you blew his fingers off. You got him shot. You got him run over. You got him set on fire. Then you got him pitchforked, run through, shot, stabbed, beaten with a baseball bat. Many, many more things. But he's still a man. So then, in your final movie, you suddenly have him transitioning from a crippled old man living in a sewer, living in the shit with the rats and the effluent, with more killings. He suddenly gets stronger again. Is that what a normal man does? Is that how a normal man exists? He'd be what now? So he was 61 in 2018. What are we now? 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22. So what, 4 years older? So 61 then. He's like 65. 65. I can't do maths. He's 65 now. But he's just a normal man. But he's gaining strength from every kill that's made. Is that normal? Is that what a normal man does? Is that how a normal man exists? Right, okay. Now, we're going to go back to something which I absolutely love and revere. And this is something which I've banged on about a hell of a lot on the channel when talking about Michael Myers. The original novelisation, written by Curtis Richards. It's here right now. Curtis Richards is actually Richard Curtis. No, not Richard Curtis who wrote Blackadder and Notting Hill and Four Weddings and a Funeral. Not that guy. This is a guy that was writing novelisations for movies, and he'd written other books as well. So he thought, well, I don't want to be known for writing these things. So his name's Richard Curtis. He just reversed his name, so it's Curtis Richards. But that original novelisation of the original Halloween is something which I got way back when it first came out, and it's an American print. You can tell by the yellowy, almost giallo pages there. But it's an American print from, I think it's Bantam Books. It might be Bantam Books. Yeah. Bantam Books. It's out of print now, this book as well, this novelisation. That is superb. Now that, I'd seen the film and I read the book, and the book expanded greatly. Why did the book expand? Well, as Richard Curtis does state, when you write novel, and Alan Dean Foster, again, did a lot of many movie adaptations or movie novelizations, from Star Wars to John Carpenter stuff to all sorts of stuff. And the great Dennis Etchison as well, who did The Fog. He's the John Carpenter, outstanding. When they get given the script and to work on a novelisation from that, the script is not enough. So you'd end up with, if you wrote just that and a few little descriptive bits, you'd have a book of about 75 pages. That's not enough for a publisher. You've got to expand that. So particularly in Richard Curtis's case, he expanded greatly on what he was given, and he created a whole new prologue, and he created a lot of the backstory of Michael Myers in the Smith's Grove Sanatorium, with Dr. Sam Loomis going in there and interrogating him and finding out there's nothing there, and things happening in the sanatorium, people being hurt, and Michael getting free reign of the place because everyone's afraid of him. You know, he can't even drive a car as he escapes from Smith's Grove. Well, maybe someone around there gave him lessons. It's alluded to in this book that, he was driving a truck around the premises because he wanted to learn, and all the guards, no one's going to stop him because he had that kind of power. But is Michael a human, or is he a supernatural entity? I have banged on about this for, God, years and years now. Ever since the channel began. He's supernatural. How anyone can argue with that is beyond me. And yet, after Halloween Ends, they're still banging on about it now. And this is what's prompted this particular video. And people also messaging me, do you still think he's supernatural? Because, you know, he gets, because at the end, oh, spoiler alert, folks, because, you know, when he finally makes his proper appearance at the end of Halloween Ends, he has a big scrap with Laurie Strode, and he's skewered hand to hand. There's a fridge lobbed on his leg so he can't get away. He's stabbed through the chest with a butcher knife. His throat is slit. He's stabbed in the side of the throat as well, like, and then his wrists are slit, and then he's crushed in a big trash compactor in the junkyard. Christine, anyone? Of course, the film Halloween Ends is it's running alongside the template of Christine, even down to our surrogate copycat Michael Myers, who's called Corey Cunningham. In the book and in the movie of Christine, it's Arnie Cunningham. And of course, you had Sean S. Cunningham, who created Friday the 13th. And this film, Halloween Ends, does massively allude to Friday the 13th. Part 5, is it? A New Beginning? You know, it just... So there's lots of little clues and whatnot going in here. But in the original novelisation, Richard Curtis gives an exact reason why Michael Myers exists and how he can take every wound going until his body's consumed, and how the spirit of evil can go on and infect someone else. You saw it at the end of Halloween 4 and the beginnings of Halloween 5. You know how that can happen. I'm not saying that was well handled. I don't think it was particularly well. But anyway, so, right, look. I'm going to read some little bits from this prologue to Halloween. By the way, John Carpenter, Richard Curtis says that John Carpenter's never spoken to him about what he thought about this novelisation, because John Carpenter had no hand in this. It was you get novelisations of movies. It's all part of the media, the mass marketing, just more merchandise. It was a huge thing in the 60s and 70s to get novelisations. But as I say, the writers didn't necessarily see the movie, and they had free reign to add their own bit, but to, you know, pad things out. And he did a fair bit. And this is the reason why I totally and unutterably believe that Michael Myers is a supernatural being, and it was from the word go. To me, I can't believe anyone even questions this. I genuinely can't. How can any human being be shot, stabbed, run over, set on fire, shot again, stabbed again, set on fire again, blown up, run over again and again? You don't get up from that. You just don't get up from it. And I don't buy for one fucking second that he's buying more energy from the kills that he makes. I'm not having that. What fucking bullshit is that? You've never set that sort of lore out at all before. In 13, fucking 14 movies. Don't give me that shit now at the end of this. I'll just say right now, I do enjoy Halloween Ends. I don't think it's a good film. I think it's a pretty poor movie. But I enjoyed it on a character level, and the acting was far better than in the fucking 2 previous movies. So anyway, right. Now here we go, folks. I'm going to read from this now. This is Richard Curtis's, or Curtis Richards, depending on, however you want to view him. His prologue. The horror started on the eve of Samhain. Samhain, which is Halloween. In a foggy vale in Northern Ireland at the dawn of the Celtic race. And once started, it trod the earth forevermore, raking its savagery suddenly, swiftly, and with incredible ferocity. Then, its lust sated, it shrank back into the mist of time for a year, a decade, a generation perhaps. That's important, that. It shrank back. It would appear and then go away again and leave a bit of time. But it only slept and did not die, for it could not be killed. And on the eve before Samhain, it would stare. And if the lust were powerful enough, it would rise to fulfill the curse invoked so many Samhains before. Then the people would bolt their doors. Scant good it did them, for the thing laughed at locks and bolts, and besides, there were always the unwary. Always the unwary. Samhain, the Druid festival of the dead. The summer had passed, and so too had the outburst of early fall warmth, now known as Indian summer. The green had gone out of the land, the crops harvested, and the chill of winter had descended like an angel of death. The people, fearing the sun might never return to again warm the land, held their festival to appease Muck Ola, their deity. I know Muck Ola. Muck Ola drinks in the cask by me. I just saw him before, as it happens. Hairy bastard. Hairier than me. Fucking stinks as well. On hillsides and in caves and daub and wattle huts, great fires were lit to which the spirits of the departed were invited by their kinsmen to warm themselves, to be cheerful. Before snows blanketed the earth, Druid priests divined who would live and die in the coming year, who would marry, bear children, wax rich, enjoy good health, and they attempted to hold at bay, through sacrifices and other rites, the witches and goblins that ran amok at that time, stealing infants, destroying crops, killing farm animals, and sometimes worse. Much, much worse. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, invokes all of this, of course. You guys know that. Deirdre was the third and youngest daughter of Druid King Gwynwyl. Her hair was sandy brown with amber highlights, her eyes sea green, her complexion cream and wild rose. She was already taller than her elder sisters, and their early development had been a cause of much concern in the tribal community. You know what that means? Oh yeah, Chesty Morgan. The other virgins tittered with envy. The married women voiced disapproval and counselled her mother to marry her off before the young girl yielded to her budding impulses. The young warriors eyed her yearningly, and the old warriors thought forbidden thoughts and reflected on their faded memories. His name was Ender. He was 15, and he loved Deirdre with a secret passion that tortured him and at night caused him to cry out in his sleep. When it became rumoured that Deirdre's father, the king, was preparing to offer her hand in marriage, Ender consulted his kinsmen and asked if they thought his suit would be looked upon with favour. He suspected what the answer would be, but his longing overcame his embarrassment. Oh, Deirdre marry you! So I'm sorry, they're Irish, I couldn't have a Scottish accent. Oh, Deirdre marry you! His father cackled. With your shriveled arm and your twitching mouth. He's deformed. For Ender had presented himself wrong end first when his mother birthed him, and the midwives had made a botch of his delivery. She would as soon marry my goat, howled his uncle. Or Bulek, his brother added, pointing to the runty dog worrying a greasy bone in a corner of their hut. Besides, his father said, I'm told she's all but betrothed to Culane. Right. Now there's a lad worthy of that wench's pretty hole. Rude, his uncle burst out, raising his wineskin to his fat lips, and they continued to discuss Deirdre's charms as Ender retreated miserably from the hut into the cold night. The boy suffered tortures such as only the adolescent can. We've all been there in our teens. Me in the 80s, with all the new romantics coming out, and a girl knocked you back, or you just split up with your bed. Oh my Christ! And you're playing all tragic, synth-laden dirge songs, and you were lying in your bed, crying your eyes out. But then you go out again the next night and go and come off again, and it was always great. You always came back fighting for more. If you could somehow get directly to Deirdre, he would convince her that though he was ill-favoured physically, he was in every other respect a fitting candidate for her hand. Because he was built like that. He had a fucking Trojan horse's head for a knob. This was easier said than done, however, because the virgins were closely watched by their mothers or by truculent warrior brothers. Nevertheless, one day Ender seized an opportunity when Deirdre went to fetch water from the stream at the foot of the hill. He followed her furtively, darting from tree to tree, until he found her stooped over the stream. singing softly to herself as the water filled her clay pitchers. "Deirdre!" he called timidly. She turned and gasped, her eyes round with fright. "You? What do you want?" Her body tensed, and she seemed ready to bolt. I want to... The panic in her face alarmed him. He had expected to startle her, but had not imagined she would greet him with such revulsion. He stepped forward, hand extended, pacifically. That's not like the ocean, the Pacific Ocean. It's like pacify, pacifically. I'm not even sure that's a real word, to be honest, but there it is. But she jumped back, misinterpreting the gesture. She stumbled, almost falling into the stream, and Ender moves swiftly to rescue her. "No!" she shrieked. "Get away from me, monster!" She found her feet and burst into a run, crying, "Help! Help! He means to rape me!" Oh, it's all gone fucking wrong, hasn't it? Ender. Oh, God, it's just trying to... I just want to say I love you, and can we maybe we can work things out, and don't fall in the stream, I'm not going to save you, but oh no. Ender's body had been deformed at birth, but not until that moment had his soul been deformed. Oh, shit. And now it was Samhain. And Ender, humiliated beyond reason, stood on the perimeter of the celebrants, dancing and chanting around the bonfire. They're having a big party now. In his left hand he held a fat wineskin from which he drank often. In his right he held a foot-long butcher blade, great, which he used to cut the throats of pigs and chickens. Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's not threatening at all. You're getting pissed and holding a huge butcher knife. Oh, come into the throng. Come and dance. Ender, come dance with us. With your big shriveled arm and your twitchy mouth and your raper face. His eyes were fixed bitterly on the figures of Deirdre and Culane, wailing exuberantly around the fire, to the immense approval of the tribe. Pervs. For their betrothal had been announced, to the joy and relief of all. Ender's legs shook and his body trembled in the cold night, though the heat of the fire was intense. And when the couple pirouetted past him once more, he leapt like a wild cat on his twin prey. Unarmed, their elbows linked, they didn't have a chance. Ender's blade sliced easily through Culane's jugular and windpipe. His legs kicked out in a grotesque finale to his dance of life. Then he fell like a slaughtered bull, dragging Deirdre downward. Her head turned away, she laughed, believing that her drunken partner had merely stumbled. Ender's blade caught her, with laughter on her face, the same laughter that had mocked him after she had run safely into the arms of her tribesmen the day he had approached her at the stream. The highly honed weapon plunged into her breast up to the hilt. In the clamour, no one heard the expulsion of wind from her lungs, the gurgle of blood, the whimper, or saw the look of dreadful recognition as the light faded from her eyes, except for Ender. The thrill of revenge was the last emotion Ender knew. For a moment later, he was literally torn apart by the enraged tribe. Only his head and his heart were preserved, gathered up after the frenzy had subsided, at the request of the grieving king. After Deirdre and Culane were buried on the hallowed ground the following day, Ender's heart and head were carried to the summit of the Hill of Fiends. The Hill of Fiends! I'm sure that's just out there somewhere, where cowards and other outcasts were left to rot unblessed. The king asked his shaman to pronounce a special curse over the remains of this vile murderer. Thy soul shall roam the earth till the end of times, reliving thy foul deed and thy foul punishment. And may God, Muckholler, my mate, visit every affliction upon thy spirit forevermore. Every affliction, shot, stabbed, run over, pitchforked, burned. Relive the crime forevermore. The sky darkened and lightning flashed. The day suddenly grew black and cold, and out of nowhere gusts of snow lashed the tribal party. In the history of the tribe, it had never snowed so early in the year. Satisfied that Muckholler had heard his prayer, the shaman summoned his people to turn their backs on Ender and return to their bereft village. The celebration of Samhain's Eve was transmuted over the centuries. The invading Romans carried the tradition back from the English Isles, with them in the form of the harvest festival of Pomona, and the early Christians deemed their celebration Hallowmas. The popes in the Middle Ages consecrated November 1st as All Saints' Day, and All Hallows Even slid into Halloween as the holiday was transmuted over the next millennium. So All Hallows Even, All Hallows Eve, night before Halloween. With the coming of modern civilization, the superstitions and traditions of the original festival lost their meaning and vitality. Token recognition was given in the custom of lighting candles in jack-o'-lanterns, hanging effigies of witches and goblins outside homes, and playing good-natured pranks that were a feeble cry from the mayhem of the old times. Children paraded about in costumes whose significance had long ago lost their correspondence to the terror of evil that had once gripped the world at the onset of winter. Halloween, like many of the holidays, had become an empty sham. Except from time to time, the innocent frolic of All Hallow Even was shattered by some brutal and inexplicable crime, and the original spirit of the celebration was brought home to a horrified world. Then the people would bolt their doors. Scant good it did them, and besides, they were always the unwary. What Richard Curtis does there, in his own unofficial expansion of the Michael Myers mythos, was create a reason why Michael Myers is inhabited by a spirit which makes him reenact his crime, ignited on a certain night, Halloween, to relive the crime, the stabbing of his sister. She's just made love to her boyfriend, and he goes up in a rage, stab, stab, stab. Then he's incarcerated, comes out again, but Halloween is the thing that triggers him every time. Be visited every affliction, shot, stabbed, burns, run over. You know, the body can take so much. So the idea of Michael Myers is that the spirit inhabits a character, a person. And then, I'll come back to that again in a minute. Inhabits a person, reenacts the crime over the Halloween night. But it might sleep a generation, it might sleep a century. But someone somewhere is going to suddenly be ignited with the spirit of Ender. Because they've cast him to do this spirit. It's a really horribly stupid thing to do. Because, oh yeah, you guys suffered. You lost the great, Cullen and Deirdre to this bastard and this deformed swine. And then you cast his body to go and do it again and again and again throughout eternity. Charming, So whoever gets the spirit inside them will go and relive the crime, and then can be shot and stabbed and whatever, and live on and on until the body is completely destroyed. The body is destroyed finally in Halloween Ends. He goes into the big junkyard trash compactor like Christine in Christine. The Plymouth Fury is trash compacted, although as they walk off we can hear as it begins to reform itself and regenerate. But that's what happens to Michael in this, and it's a great practical effect as well. Love that effect. He's crunched up, and a big splash of blood. You go, oh wow, that was there. My point is Michael Myers a man like David Gordon Green and co tried to make exist? Well, you fucked that up, folks, because you made that out in the first movie, 2018, didn't work. Shot, stabbed, all sorts of things, run over. He's still super strong. Then he's massively super strong in the second movie. Then he's weakened, but he gains strength from the more people that he kills and gets stronger. And then he's destroyed at the end. No human being can take that. Sam Loomis says to Sheriff Brackett, this isn't a man. When you find the dog in the Myers house, is that a dog? Yeah. Still warm. He came back. Or he came home. Yeah. No man would do this. This isn't a man. Whatever you think about Sam Loomis, is he as deranged as Michael Myers? He's an obsessive, compulsive, completely terrifying character in his own right. But you love him because he knows exactly what Michael Myers is. Now, in that book, Richard Curtis does expand on Michael's incarceration, and Michael does speak a lot, and Michael gets away with a hell of a lot in Smith's Grove until his escape. But Sam Loomis has known all along this guy. I spent 8 years trying to get get inside his head, and then another 7 years trying to keep him locked up, because I knew what's behind those eyes, the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. It was just purely evil. So, and let's go to the end of this, because there's also, this book also talks, it shows what happened before Judith gets killed on the first night, the initial night of murder. Excuse me. Where he kills his sister. He has been out trick-or-treating in his clown mask and all that with his mates, and Judith answers the door, and he actually threatens to kill her. He's wearing the mask. But before that, he's been with his grandmother, and she's been telling him ghostly stories, and his mother doesn't like that. Don't tell him those stories. He's only a kid. And he's been bedwetting, and he's hearing voices in his head. Voices in his head. And his grandmother goes, oh, right, well, because she realises, it tells you, his great-grandfather heard voices in his head and then went and shot 2 people. So the spirit is in the system already. Now, in the book as well, Michael Myers, the young Michael Myers, it does describe that he's heard and seen visions of the initial druidic ritual sacrifice and the murder and people dancing around the Samhain bonfires. He doesn't know what they are, and he's heard voices in his head telling him to kill and to hate people. So it fills in a lot of blanks, but it does provide that supernatural angle to him, that there's a spirit being passed down to him, and he's now got to reenact all of that again. He doesn't know why, he can't help it, but his body will have to take all the abuse that the human body can until it's inactive, and then the spirit will just go, oh, okay, well, I'm moving on from you, I did enough for you, you're useless now, and it'll, like a whippoorwill, it'll just pass to someone else, meet someone else, but probably down a family sort of bloodline, like his great-great-grandfather. And if you look at Halloween 4 and then Halloween 5, obviously Jamie. So the whole thing sort of, and I'm not endorsing those films, by the way. I shot him 6 times. 6 times. I shot him in the heart. He's not human. It's perfect, isn't it? There's no way on earth that Michael Myers was ever a human being. The little lad, Michael Audrey Myers, his middle name is Audrey, is possessed by this entity. Ender's cursed entity possesses him. John Carpenter never said this was canon. Never. John Carpenter's movie is a singular piece. It ends perfectly, because it just makes you think, shit, how can he be stabbed? And he keeps getting up again. We've had a million serial killers that do this. But in a lot of standalone movies, they just get by because they got this killer instinct to them. But they still get killed at the end of it, like. But Michael Myers was different. By coming back and trying to make out that Michael Myers is just a man, completely pisses on all of this and the mystique of what Carpenter and Deborah Hill wrote in the first movie. The guy is supernatural. Of course he is. He doesn't know why. Carpenter didn't put the possessed spirit in there, but by God, does it not work? Does that not work? It totally gives you why he survives everything and why he relives a stabbing crime over and over again. How it can sleep. And here's where it plays into like the 4-year gap, folks, between Halloween Kills and this one. It can skip a generation, it can skip a few years, it can do that. But suddenly, some silent trigger, they even say this in the first movie, waiting for some silent trigger, silent alarm to trigger him off. It ignites him for a night of butchery. Let's look at the end of this book as well. Now this is after, right, let's have a little think here. Right, Loomis has shot Michael Myers 6 times, and he's gone off the balcony, back-breaking fall again. Right. And this is Loomis going to look for him. One more corner to turn. Loomis stuck his head slowly around it and focused his eyes on the place where the body had landed beneath the French windows. It was gone. He rushed to the spot, suppressing a sob of frustration. A patch of flattened grass surrounded by twinkling shards of glass. No other sign, not even blood. Above the thudding of his heart, he heard the girl, Laurie, whimper behind him. He turned and put his hand under her arm to support her. Mutely, they stared at the patch of grass. Until this moment, he had hoped against hope that the entity he had pursued to this place was a thing of flesh and blood like himself, though deep in his heart he had known it would be otherwise. The evidence pointed not merely to another interpretation, but, as he said to Sheriff Brackett, to another dimension. That's a line from the book version. He shuddered, wondering what little boy at this very moment was tossing in his sleep, tortured by a dream of tragic love that had occurred far away and long ago, tormented by a voice commanding the dreamer to take revenge. Laurie's nails dug into his shoulder as she stared like a soldier in shell shock at the empty place on the lawn. It was the boogeyman, wasn't it? She murmured. All together now? As a matter of fact, Loomis replied. It was. You supernatural folks, don't be clouded by whatever David Gordon Green has said and whatever this new trilogy has tried to enforce on you, because this new trilogy gets it wrong. First film does a lot of mistakes, fucks up with everything. Second movie fucks up beyond belief. Third movie tries to go back and claim some things back. But these are 3 disjointed, misaligned, mismatched movies that don't fit together. They do not fit together. If you look at the Laurie timeline of these 3 movies, they're in reverse. How is it? She's a prepper in the first movie, 2018. A prepper, waiting 40 years. Fuck off. It's bullshit. And second movie, she's pretty much comatose, right? Hospitalised. But at the end of it, you killed my daughter, I'm coming for you, and all. She's got the night off. And then nothing. Half the fucking town's been killed by the end of Halloween Kills. She was traumatised for 40 years by the loss of a couple of mates. And then after losing even her daughter, 4 years have gone by and she's like making pumpkins and enjoying Halloween, and she's all happy as Larry, everything's great. She even tries to get a granddaughter with, who will become the new, he won't even become the new Michael Myers. And here's where the film fucks up again, because you've spent a lot of time in a Halloween movie, but without Michael Myers for most of it, creating a new Michael Myers surrogate. And then you go and kill him off. But you make us invest our time in him, because he's great. He is. I love the character of Corey Cunningham, and I love the acting as well by Rowan Campbell. But then you go and kill him off. So there's no sort of end on a tease longevity. But what you do in this movie is put forward the idea that evil can be passed on. So you've had Corey Cunningham and the eye lock with Michael Myers, flashbacks between each other, and I'll let you go because you could be the next one of me. You could be a protege. And then you get the whole thing with Laurie at the end of Halloween Ends, where he's gone to, throttle her, even being stabbed and crushed, and fucking all sorts of happened to him, in the final struggle. But she will hold his hand, and they will have enormous sort of flashbacks. Sorry, it's the throat throttling moment where you think he's dead. Is he ever? Of course not. Because he's supernatural! Dickheads! He's super fucking natural! He's got her throat, and they have the eye exchange and all this sort of stuff going on. Very clumsily handled. Are you implying that there is a transference of evil? And yet, cleverly, and I do like this, At the end of the movie, when she's all happy as Larry and everything's all done and dusted, Alison fucks off and leaves Haddonfield for good. Thank God. Why didn't everybody leave Haddonfield? Make it like a ghost town. She's still got the mask on her table. You know, she's still got the mask there, but she took off Michael Myers. You're just a man. A fucking old man, which is ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Not an old man could do any of that. It's a supernatural body, supernatural entity inside that body making him do it. And then, obviously, with, what's his name? Hawkins, Will Patton, and they sit on the steps and all. He's bought her vegetables for a big harvest roast and all that, like. And they sit there and talk about cherry blossoms or whatever the hell they talk about. And it's all nice and everything's great, but it does kind of leave, you know, the mask is there. And she has written in her memoirs at the end, you know, evil doesn't die, it just changes shape. Shape! The shape. This fucking guy here, all over the place. Over there as well. The shape. Folks, Michael Myers is a supernatural entity. I've banged on about it, not only throughout this video, but throughout all my videos about Halloween. And from an earlier, when I saw Halloween back when it came out, for God's sake, you know, yes, I am that old. And I knew straight away, Carpenter made a close-ended movie, but with enough just tantalizing stuff, just I'll leave people, they'll leave the theaters like, you know, like, oh my God, he's still around, with the breathing and the showing the rooms, all the places he's committed crimes in. He's still there. And then you get the sequel, and then things obviously get diluted, and then you try to explore the mythos all the more. But don't try to subvert what Carpenter, even without all of the druidic backstory, Carpenter's version. Carpenter always said he's a force, he's a supernatural force, he's an entity. You know, he is just evil. Evil doesn't die. He's not a man, because he's not a fucking man, you know. But Richard Curtis wrote a brilliant interpretation of that script, of that screenplay, and it really, really works. I love that book. There's a lot more to it. There's a lot more bits which he added to, which I've not gone into, but it really, really works. Some of which would find themselves into the extended TV version of Halloween, which I think, is it Paramount, whoever bought it, in 1981, just before Halloween 2 came out. So they said, well, can you, because the film, we're going to take out some of the violence and some of the sexy bits, but we're going to still have a feature-length movie, so can you put more stuff in? So what he did, he brought in elements which are in that book, and he brought the cast from, with obviously Jamie Lee Curtis and obviously Donald Pleasance as Dr. Sam Loomis, brought them back and had these little sort of court case sequences brought back into the movie, to the extended cut. Doesn't make it a better film, in fact, well, it doesn't, because a lot of the violence is trimmed out anyway, but it doesn't really work. You don't even need that. It's worth it in that book, though, to read all of the stuff that happens behind the scenes, and Loomis's real relationship with Michael Myers. Rob Zombie's Halloween, his remake of Halloween, is actually brilliant in that respect, that it shows all of this, because you had to do something different. You had to go beyond what you'd seen before and show something different. And I love Rob Zombie's Halloween. Yeah, I hate the trailer trash characters, and I hate the dialogue. I hate but I love the violence, and I can't understand how the little hairy bastard urchin that is young Michael Myers becomes the hulking Tyler Mane. I don't know how that happened. Christ, what gym was in that fucking place? But then again, supernatural. But Rob Zombie's version did try to make him out to be human, and he was just a product of evil by nature. It's weird, isn't it? It's weird how I don't think in the history of all the movies that we know and love, all these serial killers, monsters, whatever, they there's been not such a convoluted backstory. Freddy, we know enough about him. The bastard son of 1,000 maniacs is fantastic. Fan-fucking-tastic. Jason Voorhees, you don't need to know any much more than that. Pinhead is a fucking hellish demon, but we know he was an English officer, and that was a nice little thing there with Pinhead in Hellbound Hellraiser 2. That was, and then obviously in Hellraiser Hell on Earth, Hellraiser 3 Hell on Earth. But that was nice to do that. That kind of does work. The films might be of a lesser degree each time, but it was nice to know that, and it didn't add too much. It just added interesting, tantalising elements to a character. But your main serial killers, like, you know, you can go back and forth on Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but it ends up the same way. All the backstories to Leatherface and the family, the Sawyer clan, none of it detracts from what they really are. It only really adds to it. You don't need it, but it's nice to have it there, and it kind of gives some backstory to it. But Michael Myers has been twisted and turned and gone through so many evolutions, and it's because in the original movie, Halloween 1978, John Carpenter, Deborah Hill, Nick Castle, Jamie Lee Curtis, Donald Pleasence, everyone, he was an enigma. It started off with a weird crime. But what is it? But the devil's eyes, the blackest eyes and all that. You had all of this, and you kind of realised that there's no way that guy is not normal. What he's doing is not normal. It's beyond that. And if you're beyond normal, you're super normal. You're supernatural. Folks, I will still do... I've been talking too long here. I will still do a full spoiler review of Halloween Ends. I've got to. Just to finish it all off. And I'll say again now, I did enjoy the movie. But maybe for the wrong reasons. It was not a Michael Myers movie. And yet I enjoyed the whole Corey Cunningham saga. It was his story. Michael Myers just gets thrown in. He shouldn't have been there. Make it a Corey Cunningham movie as an offshoot, and then do the big finale like next year for the real Halloween Ends. This should have been called Halloween. Oh, by the way, Halloween Sideline. Halloween in brackets in the meantime. You know, it's his own thing, but they brought Michael Myers in for a lackluster finale to his saga. Anyway, folks, there you go. Michael Myers, definitively, as far as I'm concerned, is a supernatural entity, and I prefer what Richard Curtis wrote in that novelisation. That, for me, sums up everything. He's reliving his crime, a stabbing crime, on a particular night. The night would be Halloween because it's based on Samhain from the old Celtic Druidic festival. The towns, the tribespeople turned on him, ripped him limb from limb. He gets cursed to relive the crime and have every affliction visited upon his mortal body, but the spirit would go on. What was that line again? The end of this? What was that line again? Let's come on to it again and how this thing could relive. Loomis at the end. The body's gone. Just bloody body shape in the grass on the lawn. This is Loomis. He shuddered, wondering what little boy at this very moment was tossing in his sleep, tortured by a dream of tragic love that had occurred far away and long ago, tormented by a voice commanding the dreamer to take revenge. And that's where Michael Myers can come back again and again. But he won't be Michael Myers, will he? He'll have a different name, obviously. It could be Dickie Dom Dom. Yeah, Dickie Dom Dom's coming for you. Actually, that does sound quite terrifying. If you don't go to bed tonight, lock your doors and bolt your windows. Dickie Dom Dom's coming for you. Dicky Dom Dom is coming for you. Oh dear God. Right, folks, chew on all of this and spit it out and get back to me, whatever you think, because, you know, it's genius, isn't it? It's fucking genius, and we do love this. So, folks, please keep it kilted, keep it Celtic. I will get back with the full spoiler review of Halloween Ends, and it could be fun as well. But this was to encapsulate and finish off once and for all. Michael Myers is a supernatural entity. He's a body inhabited by a spirit which can go on and go on and go on. But the body will keep on living until it's completely destroyed. But don't try to make out that he's just a man. Don't do that. DDG and your cronies. D. McBride, you're a bunch of tossers. You fucked up everything. Your 3 movies don't make any sense at all. They might have moments to be enjoyed. Some gore. Carpenter's score. But they're shit overall. You've made a cack-handed. You boxed yourselves into corners. You had no idea how to get out of them. And you just come out with complete and utter bullshit. Out the blue, you might have made some entertainment, but your stuff is still shit overall. Anyway, I have been over Shabby Kilt-Man. Please keep us kilted, keep it Celtic, and I'll see you all at a druidic sacrificial festival near you. And the hills ran red with the blood of animals and children. Halloween 3 still fucking rules.